Welcome back to Unlock English podcast, where we explore the power of words to transform your life. I'm Quinn, and today we've got something really interesting for you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Miley, and today we're talking about something that can change the course of any relationship, conversation, or even a business deal. How to use words to mediate and reduce conflict.
Yeah, because let's face it, we all face conflict, whether it's at home, with friends, at work, or even during a casual conversation. The way we use words can either escalate a situation or completely calm it down.
Absolutely. Think about it. Have you ever been in a heated argument where things were just getting worse and then someone said something that completely turned the situation around? Or maybe you've had a moment where you said the wrong thing and suddenly things got a lot more intense.
Ooh, I've definitely been there. It's like 1 minute, everything is fine, and then you say that one sentence and bam, it's like the whole room blows up. So the question is, how can we use words to prevent that from happening and instead calm things down when conflicts arise?
Exactly. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Words have the power to either build bridges or create walls. But when used wisely, they can completely diffuse tension and help find common ground. So, let's dive in and talk about the techniques you can use to mediate and reduce conflict.
All right, let's start with one of the most important techniques when you're in the middle of a conflict: active listening. Now, this sounds simple, but it's actually pretty powerful. When you're listening carefully to the other person's point of view, it can make them feel heard and validated. And that, right there, is the first step in de-escalating any conflict.
Absolutely. I think a lot of times in conflicts, people just wait for their turn to speak rather than really listening. They're thinking, okay, as soon as you stop talking, I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. But when you actually listen, and I mean really listen, not just wait for your turn, the other person feels understood.
You know, there's this thing called reflective listening. It's when you repeat back what the person just said in your own words just to show that you're truly paying attention. For example, if someone says, "I'm really upset because you didn't meet me halfway on this project," you can respond by saying, "So it sounds like you're frustrated because you feel like the balance wasn't fair on this project." It shows that you get where they're coming from.
Yes. And what this does is it immediately shifts the conversation from one person being defensive to both people working towards a solution. So, active listening isn't just about hearing, it's about understanding and acknowledging the other person's feelings and point of view.
And when people feel like they've been heard, it's way easier to have a productive conversation, right? Which brings us to our next technique: using I statements instead of you statements.
Ah, yes, the classic. This is a huge game changer, especially in conflicts. Instead of saying something like, "You never listen to me," try saying, "I feel frustrated when I don't feel heard." The first one is accusatory, and the second one is more focused on your own feelings.
Totally. The moment you say, "you never," it can sound like you're attacking the other person, which will instantly make them defensive. But when you use I statements, you're expressing your feelings without making it sound like you're blaming them for everything. It opens up a space for dialogue rather than a confrontation.
Right. And sometimes it's not just what you say, but how you say it. Tone is huge. How you say something can have just as much of an impact as what you actually say.
Oh, definitely. You could say the nicest thing in the world, but if your tone is harsh or sarcastic, it won't land well. So be mindful of your tone and body language too. If you're calm and open, it encourages the other person to match your tone.
That's where empathetic communication comes in. It's about matching the person's emotional state, but not in a way that amplifies the tension. For example, if someone is upset and their voice is raised, you don't want to respond with the same level of intensity. Instead, you can lower your voice, speak calmly, and it will help to bring the other person's emotions down as well.
Exactly. You're not ignoring their emotions, but rather helping them feel safe enough to calm down. It's almost like using your voice as a tool to help regulate the mood of the conversation.
And speaking of tone, let's talk about the power of pauses. Sometimes the best thing to do when emotions are running high is to take a pause before you respond. It gives you time to think and to choose the words that will diffuse the situation instead of escalating it.
Yes, a lot of the time when we're in conflict, we're reacting emotionally, and that's when we say things we might regret. But if you take a step back and breathe before responding, it can make a huge difference in keeping things calm.
And that brings me to our next technique, focusing on common ground. When you're trying to mediate conflict, it's so important to find something you both agree on, no matter how small. For example, if you're in a disagreement with a colleague about a project, instead of focusing on what's not working, try to find the positive aspects of the situation.
Right. Maybe you both agree that the project is important and you both want it to succeed. You can start with that and then work out the details from there. It's about building bridges rather than focusing on the gap.
Exactly. And don't forget the power of humor. Sometimes breaking the tension with a little joke can lighten the mood and help people relax. Of course, it's important to gauge the situation, but humor can be a great way to shift from a serious conflict to a more constructive conversation.
Absolutely. Just make sure it's the right kind of humor, though. You don't want to come off as dismissive. It's all about timing and tone.
So, to sum it all up, when you're trying to mediate conflict, you want to make sure to 1. Listen actively. Really hear what the other person is saying. 2. Use I statements to express your feelings without blaming. 3. Mind your tone and body language to set the right atmosphere. 4. Take a pause to gather your thoughts before reacting. 5. Focus on finding common ground to build a solution. 6th, and when appropriate, use a little bit of humor to break the tension.
Exactly. When we use words the right way, we can completely change the dynamics of a conversation and transform conflict into collaboration.
So, the next time you find yourself in a disagreement, try out some of these techniques. It might not be easy, but with practice, it will definitely make a huge difference in how you handle difficult situations.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Unlock English Podcast. We hope these techniques help you become a pro at conflict resolution and guide you in using your words to create understanding and connection.
Until next time, remember, words are powerful, so use them wisely. See you soon.
Take care, everyone.